to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey boys and girls and everybody out there in podcast land. Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. You're listening to episode number 362. It is 5/23/2016 and my name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell. This week I am joined by three great guys. We're going to jump right into that as Brent Telenasty is here.
Hey, you're finally getting the name right.
It's Tally Nasty.
No.
You know what? You should just not bring that up ever again, and he'll probably stay with it.
I thought of that right after the words escaped my mouth. I wish I could kind of like just, you know, that feeling where you can.
I can't wait till the
and
time
back
that
out
we
of your-
finally stop making this like a thing, and the joke that is worse than a beaten dead horse is finally put to rest.
Well, you know what other joke we're going to keep going on with?
No!
I'm going to introduce my patron this evening, guys. This is a Patreon episode. Isaak has joined us this week as he has graciously decided to join us on the Trinity Force proper. Isaak, how are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
You know what? You can't really complain. It's a lovely Monday evening. It's only 80 degrees in my house, but I am sitting in my nice and crisp basement. So, there we go. And last and always least, every single week since his inception, Chira Jaden.
I don't think it's been every single week, but it's almost every single week.
I'm running a
But
solid
I'm
90.
here, friends.
A solid 95% with that.
Yeah.
If we don't do 98%.
I want to throw back and have people look for instances where I was not.
You're gonna make everyone do that homework for you.
Yeah,
Even on
please.
those episodes, you were still last in our hearts, Chira.
Oh. What, over the course of 250 episodes?
Yeah, just about. Oh God, that's so much time. Oh my God, that's so
It's
much
a
time.
long ass time.
Try being me starting this podcast back in 2011.
No one wants to do that.
Yeah, I don't know how you keep going.
Because I love League of Legends, of course.
Okay.
All right, let's do announcements before we jump in here and talk about what we're going to chat about tonight. And that's we still have the Sweetwater audio equipment contest going on for the month of May. You need to listen to all 6 of the Trinity Force Networks podcasts. You need to answer their questions or do their trivia piece. If you don't play the game or you don't understand what it is, just make something wild and stupid up. There are no rules with this, but you just need to follow within the parameters of what they're asking. So, for example, since we're at the end of the month, I'm just going to go out there and say it like Heart of the Cards is asking you to make up a card. If you know nothing about it, just make it a 1/1 that does something fucking stupid. And LCS Rundown, I think they're actually making you like make a dream roster or something. I mean, you could go old school and be like old school TSM with Reggie and Chaox.
Rain Man.
Rain Man, yes.
Man, what a throwback.
Rain Man. Only if you can play Teemo.
And only if you can buy nothing but Doran's items.
No. Wriggles and then 4 or 5 Doran's items.
Not in the game anymore, so Doran's items away.
Well, Rain Man has been banned. So
Yeah, I was about to say Rain Man's not in the game anymore. We're still talking about it.
he's an icon. He's an icon in League. For
A
those
band
who
icon.
know.
Clearly not iconic enough.
It's amazing how long he was still streaming like after his relevancy though. And people still fucking like were fanboys of him for the longest time.
Well, for a long time he was streaming and he had a girlfriend and a dog and stuff, and then like the girlfriend moved or broke up. I don't know what happened, and then like he fell into obscurity and then came back for like a brief moment, and then just got banned.
You know, it's like Dyrus is still relevant and he's not playing anymore. Just kidding. I love you, Dyrus. Don't hate me forever.
Well, when you are like Cutie Pie and you stream every single day for
I don't know how that dude
9-10
does it.
hours.
That's amazing.
I don't know how Trick to G does it because I be sitting at home and all of a sudden it's like Trick to G just started streaming and I'm just like, didn't you just start doing this like 4 hours ago? Why am I still getting notifications about it?
I know how they do it.
Adderall?
They're raking in all that cash.
Yeah.
This is so much money.
Making it rain.
Well, there we go. Speaking of making it rain, let's talk about Patreon, because Isaak is on because he did donate on Patreon and come onto the show. Plus, he just likes to help us out. So if you would like to join us on a podcast, go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/TForce Network. You'll find the tier to jump right in on that. Plus, you're getting the Champions League podcast. Isaak, you have to tell us, because you are a patron and you're on here, are you enjoying the Champions League podcast?
Very much so. I especially enjoyed the Jungle Syndra episode, even though I tried doing that clear and they killed me like 3 times.
Was that Shen?
That was Shin.
Yeah, it was Shin. Of course it was
He
Shin.
could do it, though. I've played with him. That man Cinder is ridiculous.
Yep.
I was just like trying to do it, and I'm like, how does he do this? This is really strange.
Because Shin can get away with stuff on Syndra that the normal man can't, because that guy has been playing Syndra since she was
The dawn of
created.
At least.
Yeah. Since its inception.
Yes. All right. Well, we are, as with all patron episodes, we ask you to come up with a list of topics, and we're going to all chat about them together. It doesn't necessarily have to be a topic that you want help with, and obviously you put together 4 of them. So Isaak, since you are the interim host for this evening, why don't you go ahead and jump in and pick one of your 4 or 5 topics that you have, and we'll all chat about it.
Okay, so I am specifically a jungle main. I started playing in the summer of 2013, and then I took a 2-year break. So I started playing again in September of this last year. So that was a long time to take off. But I guess the first thing I want to talk about is definitely like map observation and planning as a jungler in general. And since Tally and Shira here and you two, Pone,
Not
are
really anymore, but okay.
Yeah, Adam plays AD carry again. This is the 3-year blast from the past.
This guy flip-flops roles more than Al Gore.
I have consistently played AD carry since I started this game. It's just I went to top for a very long period of time because I was playing ranked 5s.
No, you did not play AD carry for like 2 years. You just start playing him again, but clearly that's consistency from 3 years ago. You've played nothing but top, and like it went top, support, jungle, skipping mid entirely, back to AD carry.
I find whatever I can use to climb.
I think I started listening to you guys during one of your support phases.
It was when he was playing support Annie.
Probably.
The only support he could play.
And Soraka.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about keeping your mind on the mini-map. Anybody else is allowed to jump in there and take that wheel.
Well,
He's
just
staring at Tally, and he's just kind of
I'm staring at Tally too.
All right. Well, I mean, you have to make a conscious effort to just look at the minimap while you're doing camps. And also, I mean, since you're a jungle main and that's what you enjoy, I also make a habit of looking at the lanes themselves, like clicking on the minimap and seeing how the lane's doing and if they're going to be pushed in soon and whatnot, because that helps plan your path, which is, I think, related to another question that you also have, baked into what we're going to possibly be covering tonight. Try to do a conscious effort to just actually look at the minimap every 15 seconds or every couple CS if you're in lane, is what I tell people that lane. But for jungling, it's a little bit easier. You usually, while you're doing camps, you might have to micro a little bit of things like some spells on the characters, but usually you have some downtime, especially in between camps, especially when you're walking from blue side to red side and whatnot. Check all your lanes out. You look at the minimap for sure, and then also just click on the lanes real quick, see how they're doing, see if they're being out traded, if they're going to need help soon. That helps you kind of plan a little bit. It's easier said than done, but I've heard of people putting like a timer on their desk that makes like a little beep every 30 seconds that forces them to look at their minimap. I've heard of all of these different things. I don't really know what clicked for me, but at one point it just clicked. After years of like being told, you should have seen that on your own minimap. You can't blame. I think that's partly what it is, and I'll finish up soon in a sec. Is that after years of kind of like I was in the grinding and in the lower ranks and getting better and improving, I started to rely less on people having to ping Mia and stuff like that. Once you realize, he could have pinged it, yeah, but I also could have been looking and seen that guy was gone for 10 seconds. That's when you start to become a better player and take accountability. But that's kind of universal throughout this game. Sorry,
you have to put the it's making the conscious effort to do something and then also putting the time in while playing to do it. You know, and even if you're not necessarily jumping in right now and running into a situation where like every single time you're moving from camp to camp, you're looking at some lane. And when you are doing the camps and your cooldowns are up, you know, you're looking at the mini map, and then once those are down, you're looking back at a lane, trying to plan things out. You're probably not doing that all the time, but to just get on the path and like try and do that, you know, between every other camp or something like that. You just have to start with like a base, and it doesn't really matter where you start. It's just, you know, as you start doing it, it becomes habitual, and then you'll get to this point, you're like, what the fuck was I doing when I wasn't doing this?
Yeah, watching my life, watching the things die. You know what's really hard to do is go from being a laner to a jungler, and the fact that you get so used to having the last hit minions that like when you first start, sometimes you find yourself pacing to get that minion.
Yeah, no, I started as a mid player, and then I kind of moved into jungle. So that was definitely a thing that happened when I moved over, because I'm like, oh, I have to watch the camps. And now I'm just like, I don't really need to watch the camps unless I'm playing Eve and I'm trying not to die on my first clear.
Yeah, like the first clears and like the first 3 or 4 camps, not too big a deal to watch the minimap. I mean, it's helpful, but you can't really make it anywhere. I mean, you can depending on what camp you're at. You can get to mid or bot. I mean, after blue.
I mean,
but still, even at that point, you can just watch the mini map and kind of see what's going on and how people are positioning. Because one of the things I noticed as a top laner is that I can kind of tell what is going on in the lane just based on the movements of the mini map characters. Like if I see that, that's why I say kind of, because sometimes they look like they're fighting and they're actually just walking around the lane.
Mm-hmm.
But you get like this second instinct by just watching minimap characters and how they start positioning or moving. And if they start moving erratically or they start moving, you know, like try to charging straight forward, that gives you that sense to look down. Now, this was going to bring me a question up for the rest of you guys, and it's something I've been considering doing myself, is rebinding my F1 to F4 key.
That's your
Because
That's the camera key, right?
That locks on to each person.
I would straight up hit Alt F4 at some point and boot myself from the game on accident, because I press all the time for stuff.
Right, that's why I said rebind them. That's why I was thinking about rebinding them to something.
Yeah, if you ever see streamers and you see their camera jumping around a lot, that's probably what they're doing. I personally don't do that, but I know a lot of people that do. I've read about that before. I never took the time to learn it, but I also have my mouse sensitivity really, really high, so I usually click around the minimap anyway a bunch.
It's not hard to get back to yourself just by hitting spacebar to recenter too. So if you can do that really quickly, then that's great.
See, I've been thinking about doing it because it seems a lot faster than moving your mouse, clicking, and then making sure your mouse is back in position. Because especially if I'm playing, I know this is a jungle question specifically, but it goes for everybody with map awareness. And something that I see in a lot of replay reviews with top laners, for example, is that they don't pay attention to the bot lane, or they don't pay attention to where they can teleport. They spend more time figuring out what's going on with the trading. And if you start using those F1 to F4 keys, which I've been trying to teach myself to do, you can jump down and jump right back to yourself really fast. I mean, it's F4 space, and think about what you just saw, then teleport, right?
And like, just so you know, like that's something that I still actively work on, especially because I started laning again this season more so than probably, I guess the past 3 seasons. So I mean, I've been practicing a lot of the ganking because I've been playing top more and more, but this isn't something, you know, everybody has like tiers of what they're working on at certain levels, so don't feel bad. Another piece of that too, when it comes to not necessarily paying attention to the camps that you're exactly doing, I would argue that there are certain champions that when you're jungling against them, you should pay more attention to the camps that you're doing while you do them. Because like Shaco or Nidalee, if they're trying to level 2 cheese you, are probably going to come up and level 2 cheese you. And if you are not paying attention to what's going on within your jungle and outside of it, somebody's going to die. And it's probably you.
No, it's funny because I've watched through a lot of YouTube stuff that's just like talking about clears in general, and I've watched stuff you guys have put out, and a lot of people have all said like, you know, you should make sure that if you have somebody that's going to invade pretty consistently, you should save your ward for when you go to your first buff and pop it where you think somebody would appear. And I've had games where they've had like a Shaco or Nidalee, and I'm always just like, oh my god, they're gonna come over here, so I need to put this ward here right now, and then they just don't show up, and I'm just like, well, I guess it's better to be safe, but you know.
I would
Definitely.
argue you see that, like, there's this weird situation where you either see the level 2 invade on really bad players trying to force something to happen early, or on really good players that are going to abuse the shit out of you for the exact same reason. And it regardless, it can work out for you or it can be to your absolute detriment, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
I think one of the videos I put out recently about cutting jungle mobs, I don't think it made it in the video itself, but one of the clips I sent to the guy doing the video editing was actually, I knew I was going to get invaded by Lee Sin. I was doing jungle graves, and I was going to use this as an example because I was kiting the red camp back away from the bush that Lee Sin's usually up here in, and that saved my life because he couldn't Q to me, and he tried to Q the camp. Or he tried to Q me, and I blocked it with the camp because I was kiting it back. Yeah, I was basically putting a buffer in between us. I outsmited him, and then we collapsed and killed him just because of that ward. I knew he was going to invade, and I kited the jungle mob to a safer location for me, so I wouldn't get blindsided.
And if you are taking the camp and fights are still going on, and you can get him into a position where you have more health or you're in equal health, and the camp's closer to him, that's a winning situation more often than not anyway, so it's smart to do that regardless.
Well, speaking to kiting jungle mobs, and this is actually humorously, this is where I wanted to go originally with the video, was actually the tether ranges and understanding how to pull a mob far enough away that it doesn't lose its patience. And it ended up being just kiting to save life, which works great too. Like, that's another great topic that people need to learn how to do. If you haven't checked it out, I'll link it below this video or below the podcast when it comes out. TrinityForceNetwork.com. But you need to. There is, how jungle mobs have a patience meter, right?
Yeah.
And we always talk about moving through the jungle to save time, because a lot of times, especially in power farming junglers, you want to be near your next camp more quickly. And spending less time walking. And if you can save some of that time by walking to the camp by cutting that jungle minion, you're essentially shaving off 30 seconds of your jungle route over the course of you jungling for your first and second clear. But, like, you can take the wolf practically to the grump. The big wolf can practically walk to the grump before its patience meter resets. Now, the patience meter, by the time it makes it, if I remember correctly, in between where blue and grump, like the wall blue grump, that's basically when it's going to run back. But you can kite it through that and have it killed before its patience meter resets if it's almost dead, and that saves a lot of time.
I mean, it saves time, and there's practice involved in finding that sweet spot, because it's one of those things that if you do screw it up and it resets, you just wasted a bunch of time. Yeah, and not to mention that thing's going back to full health, and whatever damage you took, especially on an early clear,
and if you smite on it, that's goodbye.
Then it's a waste of time. So it's that's something that's important to do as you improve your jungle play, but that might warrant going into like a custom game to test it on your own, because that's something that's way easier to get the feel for by doing it a couple times than it is to just be like, I need to go stand by this tree because somebody told me to.
Yeah.
Well, kiting becomes more about saving life and saving time than it does about killing the minion more quickly. That, you know what I mean? Like, you will start kiting it to the next camp because it's 2 auto attacks away from dead, or an auto attack and a spell away from dead, so you can start moving to the next camp rather than just stand there and fire at it.
Yeah, that's nice to save a second or two. I'd argue that kiting the camps into the bush, like the red buff and the blue buff, especially when you might get invaded, helps a lot too, because then they can't smite it.
Is that really an argument, though, Tally?
No, not an argument.
You said I'd argue.
I'd argue that that's the bigger, that's a kind of a more important concept of kiting the camps than saving a second or two.
You would like to raise the point that.
Yeah, because saving a second or two will help here and there, but rarely will it make a game-changing difference, whereas kiting it back into a bush and saving that like early snowball from an invading jungler killing you at your buff or stealing your buff and then killing you with it is probably a little less likely.
Mm-hmm. I like to keep the APMs in my brain up. That's what I like to do. Humorously as that sounds, but like trying to make snap decisions and quick decisions throughout the entire game helps me as I move into the later game. I can tell, you can tell the difference between your first game of the day and your third game of the day, right? But that's what they say, like warm up your fingers, get your fingers moving, get the blood going in there. Same thing's got to get the brain. You got to get your brain
Salt
thinking.
content is higher too by then.
But by the last game of my yesterday, my sodium intake was so bad I had to sit here for like a minute after I got done and just go, I need to breathe before I go upstairs.
Was that after I left? Because we did great in that one game.
I played all day. I ended up going positive overall, but...
Okay, because I know you were pretty upset at one point. A little bit.
Yeah, well, we're going off and not letting Isaac talk, but I text Sean this morning. I'm like, I'm so mad because most of my games, I'm usually fairly positive, if not outrageously positive, and I can't take my lead and as an 80 carry. Like, I could be 5-0-1 on Jhin, and the rest of my team is just doing normal, below average, and I can't take my lead. I don't know how to take my lead and turn that into a winning game, and that's what separates me between the fucking Diamond 5 and Diamond 5 and Master level players.
My first text from Adam this morning was, "I'm a salty boy."
No, my roommates and I played URF all weekend, and we went on this enormous win streak on Friday and Saturday, and then last night one of our roommates had just gotten back because she was out of the country, and she was really excited to play URF, and we got on, and we're like, okay, we had like 2 or 3 games where we won, and then we got into another game, and we just went on the hardest losing streak. By the end of the night, I was just like, I'm so tilted, I'm like upside down right now.
Yeah, I can't play URF. I get so tilted. I played Talia in URF, and that was the worst experience of my life.
I had to lane against a Ziggs as Talia in URF, which was terrible, because I was just like, oh, I can just like stand here and shoot my Q. Oh, I have to move into my ground all the time. Also,
and W gets you stuck at points because you have to double click W. It's stupid.
Going back to like champions that feel really busy, she's one of those champions that feels really, really busy.
I honestly think they need to do a touch up of her, because Sam from Lola tweeted this morning about, like, it was just like a picture of her win rates on champion.gg right now, and she's like 34% in all of her roles right now.
She doesn't need a touch up. She really doesn't.
I think she's pretty good. But, okay, and
she's getting a small one, but
in respect to that, she's also the lowest win rate in every single position other than AD carry. I really think that is more of an issue with like that site and maybe the numbers just being off for the day or something.
So just speaking to Talia, I realized that her win rate was going to be in the dumpster for her coming out, because she is a very, very hard champion to play correctly. That W alone makes it very hard, and not understanding. And I think a lot of it, too, comes with not understanding that worked ground works the way it does. But you need to be able to abuse the extra move speed, and you need to be able really good about dropping E's and dropping people onto your E's to slow them and extra damage. Now, I've seen some pretty beastly, Talia players so far out there, and I don't expect her win rate to go much above 45%, probably ever. She reminds me of a LeBlanc in that, where she's going to be really good. She's just really hard to play correctly.
Yeah, you have to work on her a lot to actually make her really strong. And then when you know her, it'll be disgusting.
PBE, if I remember correctly, they are reducing her Q mana cost by 10 at all ranks, and they are removing a little bit of damage from it, or they're adding a little bit of damage. I can't remember which I saw. By the way, there's just they're probably adding a little bit of damage. I can't remember. There's just a slight tweak on the PBE right now for her, but it should surprise nobody that she's got a 37% win rate. Wait, let's go ahead and talk about another topic of yours.
Okay. So I guess kind of like champion pool things. I guess like what specifically you guys focused on a lot to climb, and I know it's like you need to find like your niche champion, and I haven't really been able to find my niche champion, because if you look at my champion pool, I'm like all over the place. Like, Cheer got to see me play Zyra support that one game that we played together, but
you did fine. You did fine.
No, I played a game with you. I don't remember what you played.
We were playing ARAM, and I had a Caitlyn game, and then it was somebody weird. Syndra? I don't even remember. Yeah, it was Syndra. But I was really bad at hitting my stuns when I actually threw them.
So I think something that I hope a lot of players are listening to right now with ranked and the concerns to it is I understand what it's like to get bored of League of Legends, right? It can be very boring to grind ranked because in ranked you have to play 1 or 2 champions total. You know, you can go up to 3 really, and have your primary role. But if you look at what I did, let's say right now I spent a majority of the early season going from silver all the way up to plat, right? I went from silver 1 to plat 5 fairly moderately quickly, depending, you know, based on my schedule. But when I was trying to play just random champions down in like silver and bottom gold, I wasn't doing well. And then I found out, you know what my strength is? Engaging. Do you know what low golds have a problem doing? Engaging team fights. And I played Malphite, and I cruised through it. Then I hit gold 1, and I went, okay, people are getting good at engaging now. What else am I good at? Oh, I'm good at standing back and doing damage. Let's play Jhin. And then suddenly I played Jhin into platinum, and I realized he's my next champion to go with. And that's kind of what you have to stop and do, is look at what rank you're in, what are the problems that you see primarily, and can you band-aid any of those problems by playing specific roles and a specific champions? Because if you can, you're going to find a lot of success there playing that. But that is you're going to hit a wall doing that at some point.
Yeah, because when I started jungling, I got really fascinated by Elise, because when I had initially started playing, I never saw her anywhere, and then I was just like, oh my god, I really like the way her kit looks, and it's really powerful, and I really want to learn her. And I was doing really fine until I hit level 30, and then I tried playing her in ranked and got shit on all the time, even though like I had a good number of games on her where I did okay, but then it's like I can watch pro players or like really high elo players play her, and I'm like, I don't understand how you do half of the stuff you do with her. And it's like, if I try to play her in my elo right now, half the time like I'll come up and I'll ping them like 30 times that I'm like, I'm gonna go in on them, like follow up with me, and I'll throw my cocoon out, and if I don't miss, then they're like standing in the creep wave somewhere like, oh, you're here, hello. And then I'm like, oh, I'm dead. Okay, thanks guys, that's great. I kind of moved into a Mumu because I'm like, he's simpler, and I've been doing off and on with him, and I've been playing a lot of Kindred lately, because when she first came out, I was like, I like her kit, I like the story, I want to play her, and then I have a 66% win rate on her in ranked, but it ends up being like, if I get into a game where my top laner is really not engage heavy, then I have problems playing Kindred, because nobody will follow up with me if we don't have an engage support or even like a good engaged mid laner. So I'll like go in and start a fight, and then I'm like, oh, there's nobody here. Okay, I'm gonna try to get out. Maybe I'll die. Probably. I probably died.
Well, the good thing is both Amumu and Kindred are doing extremely well right now, and Amumu, he needs a gold medal for most consistent jungler in all elos out of all time. Like
he's always sitting above 50%, no matter
always,
what. Even if you don't ever
always
see him.
You could have one arm and he would sit at 50% somehow. Like that champion is just always
doesn't really have any arms, so.
Well, I wasn't talking about him. I was talking about
tiny.
the user of the Amumu.
They're just little stubs.
Yeah,
just,
he's
hanging out.
Very like he's really solid. If you have that kind of a win rate on Kindred, fuck what your top laner picks.
Yeah.
I would just pump out games with that until you start to level out.
And that's like, I was doing really well with her for a while when Blood Razor first came out, and nobody was picking her, and I'm like, yes, I can play Kindred and nobody's gonna ban her. And then I had a streak last week where I got into a game, and every time they banned Kindred, or somebody on my team banned Kindred, and they're like, oh, I didn't see you picked her, and I was like, okay.
Well,
freaking mid laner.
She is
She's doing great right now.
She's doing great. I see her banned in every game. I don't ever see her being played anymore. Actually, at this point, I think the game is at a spot again where there are more characters I want to ban than
there are bans.
Hey, Riot. Hey, Riot, how about you give us an extra ban? Hey, Riot, how about you give us 2 extra bans?
I don't need 2 extra bans. I don't even know if I need extra bans. So
we need a longer draft phase, Jared. That's what we need.
Hey, you know what? You know what? That 20 seconds at the beginning where you're choosing the champion that people are going to ignore anyway, fuck that whole situation. Just give us another ban.
Okay, so speaking to bans, if you go and look at Champion GG and you're like, oh, Swain is doing really well and Echo's doing really well. Well, I do think Echo is worth a ban, but like right now people are banning Swain, for example. I don't really think Swain. I mean, I think Swain is worth a ban, but not compared to the other champions. Like, for example, Lucian is at like a 52% win rate with a 50% play rate.
Yeah.
Like, that is good. Like, that is so good that is ban worthy.
Dom tweeted on, I think it was Friday, he's like, Lucian has the highest pick rate and win rate of any AD carry. Why aren't people banning him? He's been like this for so long.
Seeing like I'm Abba Jax on my team, they do horribly, and then when they're on the other team, it's just like,
they're the greatest Jax that's ever lived.
Yeah, I'm like,
Shaco
you have
syndrome.
10 kills.
Yep.
Yeah, because we look play percentage. Lucian Lucian is far and above beyond anybody else in this game in play percentage. 51.07%. The next is Ezreal with a 30% play rate. Like, when you have a champion that is 52% win and 50% play, he deserves a ban in every single game.
Like Gold, he's 59% pick and 52% win rate. Yeah,
That's crazy.
So like, there's this website called Best Bans. I think we've mentioned it here before, and I think that goes off of a little bit more of what's played and what makes they take some things into account called influence factors and whatnot. But that has Lucian as number one ban.
I don't really go off of, the only thing I don't go off of Best Ban is the one where you can sign in with your account or pull up your account.
or it'll show what you lose against a lot.
Don't use that to ban shit. Don't ban what you're losing against a lot. Ban what is actually really powerful and what is causing. I don't go off of Best Ban. Best Ban is the one where you can sign in with your account or pull up your account.
or it'll show what you lose against a lot.
Don't use that to ban shit. Don't ban what you're losing against a lot. Ban what is actually really powerful and what is causing.
Maybe somebody has your kryptonite and they just know.
I think it says I need to ban a Nivea, for
it
example, because it's stupid. Like, if you lose 2 games against a Nivea, it's 100%. So it's gonna the formula is just a little screwy on it.
I've never logged in and used that. I've just looked at the trends because I like looking at data.
But there's not enough people look at statistics. So I think when it comes to League of Legends and understanding how to pick and ban, and there comes a point where, like, if I was to go and play in bronze right now, I would just I'd go into the game with no bans. But that's because I feel like my mechanics would be just high enough that don't have to worry about what champion the person is playing as long as I'm respecting them. But at the same time, if somebody is like Skarner at a 60% win rate, for example, I'm probably going to ban him regardless of what rank I'm playing at, just because it doesn't matter how well or how good you are, you can still demolish on a champion.
Nobody expects Skarner, and I've played him in a couple of ranked games, and none of them get when I just like come waddling out of the jungle and grab them and drag them away from their support.
Skarner is love. I love that fucking Scorpion so much. Especially because the amount of damage that he does if you build him a little offensive and you're kind of playing him more off tanky is so surprising over sustained fights that you just melt through people, and if they run away from you, you just grab and bring them right back.
Well, let's talk about achieving levels of proficiency outside of League of Legends, because that's another piece that you had wrote down here. Is there a specific way you want to take this topic?
I mean, kind of just like maybe a little bit about what each of you did to get where you are in your skill level right now. Like, if there were specific things that you worked on a lot, or if there's like something that just kind of clicked for you one day that was just like, okay, this makes sense, and it was just like a jump or something like that.
Tally or Chira?
So something that I started doing, because and I always used to tell this to Adam, I am one of those players that when I'm playing a character, I don't necessarily like. Adam would much rather take a supporty sort of champion kit sort of individual, because he likes to bring a lot of utility to the team. And I've told you this in the past, I like putting the ball in my own court. And I really do, but you are not going to be able to carry every single game on your own, regardless of if you think you can or you can't. So that's when you do what I do, and you find who you think is going to most likely carry on your team. And if you aren't going to be that person, you make them as strong as possible. And you have them win the game for you.
That's an interesting way to take it. Yeah.
That's actually that's something big learning early, especially if you have a mid laner that's able to get a kill early. Adam's given me shit in the past because I don't, even, especially when you could buy wards all the time. I wasn't one of those people that would like throw down wards at all, like ever. I had very few wards. I'm sure he's surprised that I was able to get as far as I did with barely buying wards. And if I did buy wards, they were specifically for me to be selfish because I really didn't trust my teammates to pay attention to them that much. But for situations where somebody seems like they're doing really, really well and they've made some really good plays early, if that's the case, pick up that pink and slap it in a spot where it's going to make it so that they have extra information to go.
As a jungler.
Yeah,
Extra
well,
free reign.
It gives. I mean, if you're warding for that laner that's doing really, really well, that's, you know, that might be one side of the river that they don't have to worry about a gank coming in. And if they can position well on that side and they know they're going to be safe there, they might be able to pull off better plays. They might, you know, they might see so-and-so, the jungler moving up through past wraiths or something like that. And they're like, screw it. They're heading up top. I'm going to go down bottom and pick up 2 kills. And then just keep that snowball rolling downhill. And it's one of those things that, like, I play to get to a point where I can carry if I have to, and I'd prefer to be able to do that. But if I know that I'm not going to be that guy, there's also that time where you have to recognize, hey, you know, you're 1 in 3. You're probably not going to take the whole team and put them in your backpack and just start charging at the Nexus.
Why not?
Because you're not doing well. So find that person who you really think is going to make the biggest impact in the game. And there might be 2 of those people. But the other big part about that is you can't help everybody on the map in every game. And the only time you can is when you are that person that's super fed and can make moves all over the place.
Yeah.
So, like, again, it just comes to that point where you have to recognize who realistically is going to help you destroy that Nexus the most efficiently out of everybody, and find that person, attach onto them like a leech, and make them a monster.
Even if you can't have that one person, don't make yourself be that person that drags everyone else down. Even if
you don't want to anchor anybody
behind, learn. There's an art to it, to learning how to let yourself be carried. You may be down in the lane, but don't go chasing after more stuff. Don't go just play defensively, buy defensive items or items if possible, or something like that. Maybe you play a little bit more of a tanky build if you're down 2 or 3 kills as Darius in top lane, and you don't go that Black Cleaver. Instead, you just go kind of tanky. You know, just go those.
I love this advice because I just got done doing a replay review the day where it was melee versus ranged champion, and they were making silly plays because they were down 30 CS. And I specifically remember saying in the replay review that I can feel
the desperation.
You could feel the tilt?
I said I could feel the desperation. I know this. I have been here before where you're like, fuck.
Like chasing your tail.
Shit,
man.
I was like that the other day playing Yasuo, not doing well at all.
I'm like,
it applies.
It happens. Sorry, it happens in solo queue all the time though. People get down, and it's something I don't know. I can't fix it. I can only fix it to the the 20,000 or whatever you guys are listening right now to this podcast, right? That like. Yeah, stop chasing your tail, stop overextending, and just sit back and let them have some stuff. I know it feels like you're getting behind, but if you can sit for 5 to 6 minutes with no kills being given up, you're going to be closer than you were if you kept trying to go make plays.
As your teammate, I would rather you be down 70 CS than down 70 CS and 4 kills.
Right. I just see it too often in every single elo. People just try to go and make plays when they're so far behind.
Or they try to force things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It applies to jungle too. I know we're talking about top lane. It's a little bit like more visual and visceral in top lane. But in jungle too, like if the opposing jungler is ganking bot lane and they're getting a kill or 2, and you just are not on that side of the map, you can't chase after. You can't go down there and try to force it. Or if you're weaker and you came too late, like just instead go to the other side of the jungle. Take their red buff and Krugs and stuff like that.
Especially
and ward it and drop wards in there. So now you have deep wards and you're preventing your top laner from being ganked next.
Especially
take trades
in the early game where those death timers aren't anything. and you going a little bit too far turns into it's only been 15 seconds. They're up, and now they have more health and a numbers advantage. So.
I think I didn't really answer a lot of the question when it came to champions and to focus on and whatnot. But for me, like achieving my level of proficiency when I first hit Diamond, I pretty much only played like 2 or 3 champions that season. And then occasionally if I had to fill other roles or champions were banned or I would be completely counterpicking myself, I played other champions. But I'm looking at it right now. In Season 3, when I hit Diamond, I played like 90% of my games were on Maokai, Nidalee, and Elise. And that was it. And I think Elise was released sometime mid-season, so most of it was Maokai and Nidalee. And
Season 3, 2013? Or was it around then?
Might have been 12?
It was, I think it was 2012.
Because I think that was when I started, and that was, I think Jinx had...
Yes, that's correct. It was 12.
Jinx had just come out or something like that when I started, but... Sorry, Tally.
No, you'll be sorry. I'm looking it up because I'm pretty curious. Season 3... No, I think you're right. Yeah, that's 20...
It's interesting because, like, I have more Trundle games played this season than any other character, with 9... I have 15 total games played on him, and the next highest games played are all, like, 4 apiece. I have not played anyone consistent this season other than him. And like I said, I've been playing a lot of top lane lately, but it's I'm
Sean,
not.
I have 22 games played on Jhin, 18 on Malphite, and 13 on Ezreal.
But you're a really good example of somebody who will take one champion and then just ram that bitch right into the ground.
That was gonna be the next point. Yeah, that's like, what I did.
I get super bored, and I rarely play a champion in back-to-back games.
Here's how you avoid that: pick the one champion that you want to get good at, that you like, that you really enjoy. For me, that was Maokai because I loved watching the Odd One, and that was his like champion, and it fit my playstyle. I liked like the early ganks, CCing people to death, and having this weird utility. And back then, he wasn't played a ton. He was a little bit towards the end of Season 2, beginning of Season 3. But I liked playing that person that nobody else was like, wait, Maokai, why are you playing and then I just get first blood every other game.
But Tally, what if you like somebody you're really, really bad at?
Get better at them? I was really bad at Elise and Nidalee at first because they were very high mechanical champions, but playing them forced me to become better mechanically. So that is also what I...
Well, it forces you to get better mechanically if you ever want to do well on them.
Yeah. But I liked their kits so much. I liked watching pro players like land these awesome Nidalee spears in mid lane and chunk people, and I was like, I want to do that, so I started spamming her. I found a high-level player that played her a ton. It was a one-trick, and he happened to live in the same city I did. I went to him like, hey, teach me how to play Nidalee. And he did. And then I played a shit ton of Nidalee. So if I got either mid lane or jungle... No, I mean, I ended up being on a team with her for a LAN. And
Tally, teach me how to play Elise.
Champion Selects podcast for that. But no, I played a lot of Elise that season. I played a lot of Elise in tournament play. And she obviously, even still today, she could carry the early game through just early pressure, early ganks. And
she's still good right now, too. She's just kind of squishy. Her damage is great, but if you fuck up at all, you're dead.
And once you play enough games on her, a lot of this stuff that you're like, I see pro players do, I don't know how to do, like some of that becomes second nature too. Like there's things I do on Elise I don't even like. I had to go into a custom game and watch myself play so that I could explain it for that podcast, because I did some back work for that podcast to like, oh yeah, that's right, I do kite the camps like after that. I do use my W's and auto attack reset. I do all this stuff, and I don't even realize it because I've been doing it so much. But when you are having a mechanics of a champion down to like the back of your memory, then you could use the forefront to plan out the enemy's jungler strategy, what you think they're doing, plan everything else. Then you can concentrate on that, and that allows you to focus on more of that macro or micro level stuff, because you don't have to worry about your champion level micro. So I think that allows you to improve. Then once you climb up, then you could expand your champion pool. That's kind of what I suggest, and that's what I had suggested to me when I was learning and playing.
I like it. I hope you're taking some stuff from this tonight, Isaac. You got your
you taking notes, son?
And
we're teaching you to climb, baby. You're getting out of bronze this season.
I will say that advice is not the end all be all. I know pro players out there have left and right said differently. I know pro players that say find one champion that you stick with and get good at them, and then spread out. There's different trains of thought, and there's no right or wrong way. That's just my own personal experience with the game.
I'm I'm more of a generalist, and that I like playing everybody across the board, and I've always been like that. But like, this season particularly, because I've always liked playing more bruisers, or even somebody like Wukong who's kind of a bruiser but does way more damage than typical bruisers. I've been playing way more assassins. Like I just started pumping into a bunch of games on Yasuo, and I'm not that great on it. Sometimes I feel like I'm amazing, and then other times I go 1 in 10, and I feel like I was probably the reason why we lost. But that happens, and you just don't take it to personally if people talk smack or whatever. We were playing a game the other day, and Adam keeps bringing this up. I got made fun of by somebody on the other team because I didn't have champion mastery on any champions.
It's like some grade
I didn't
school
have the
bullshit.
rank 4 mastery or whatever it is. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't know. I thought we were all plat. I didn't know that mastery level was the be
You
all.
didn't have the emote, bitch.
Skill. Yeah, apparently.
Sean,
I finally got level 5 mastery on Elise, and that was just because I was like, oh, I'm gonna play her in Earth a bunch, and then I finally got it. Which throwing cocoons out every 3 seconds is great because then they just can't leave. Like you don't get to go back.
It gets to the point where you're cool. Like the cooldown on that is about the same amount of time that it lasts. It's disgusting.
well, I think we ran through all your topics for this evening, did we not?
Yeah.
Did we miss one?
Just like consistency, but I think a lot of what you guys talked about, I can kind of like pull into that because it was a lot of
consistency and proficiency go hand in hand.
Well, and you also have to keep in mind, for most of us on this show, we've been playing for going on 6 years now for Adam and I, which like that's a long time. If we didn't if we didn't kind of know what we were doing, we probably should be playing a different game.
Yeah.
I keep telling, like, the fiance, she's been playing recently. She's like, I don't know how you do this. How do you play like that, etc. And I'm like, it's just games.
Put the time in.
She's like, you can't teach me how to do this. I'm like, I could tell you how to do it, but it's just playing the game.
There are certain things that you can't learn just by being told, and that, like, I mean, not even with League. Going back even farther, I used to play Dota all the time on Warcraft 3, and I'm not. I've played a lot of MOBAs over the years. I've played a lot of games over the years, and some of those skills will transfer, others won't. Just because you're good at League doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna fucking be really good at Counter-Strike, because I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at Counter-Strike.
Twitch reactions, even though you can play Twitch.
This was my first. League was my first MOBA. Before, the only other competitive games I had played was shooters. But I also played StarCraft and Warcraft, not competitively, but a lot growing up. So the right clicking and stuff like that, like that came pretty naturally from micro perspective to some extent.
No, this was really weird to me because when I before I started playing League, I was mostly like RPGs. Like I played Pokemon a lot. I played different stuff on the GameCube. Shut your whore mouths, please.
I love
it. I grew up
Dude,
playing
I've been playing Oris like crazy. I love that.
No, but I mean, like when I started, I didn't know what it was, and one of my roommates was like, "Hey, you should play this because I'm playing it," and he was already playing ranked. So I started, and I'm like, "I'm level 2, and I play Annie," and I still play Annie because I love playing Annie because Tibbers is so satisfying when you drop a good one. But it's like I had to learn a lot of mechanics and a lot of like two of my roommates, like my boyfriend included, like they had never played a MOBA before, so like trying to just tell them how to do like basic things, and I'm not very experienced at this. Yeah, I was just like, you just have to do it over and over again.
Yeah,
like, that's all you can do.
We all started there. I mean, the first game I think I like was looking up on GameFAQs.com how to play League of Legends, and I found a Tristana guide. And then I was like, oh, you can unlock this champion for free. So I got a skin by liking it on Facebook. I went into my first game against other players, and I bought 5 Berserker boots because I thought if I moved fast and attacked really fast, I'd be really good and really strong. I did not realize I didn't stack. But I was introduced to the game in the middle of or end of Season 1 by a bunch of friends that had played. One of them was like hardcore into ranked, and he was silver or gold or something like that. And I had other friends that played. So they were yelling at me not to do this and whatnot, but like we all started somewhere. We all started there, and yeah, we're right. A lot of us have put a lot of time into this game, and consistency comes from, I say in a couple of words, not ever being satisfied. Like
Yeah.
always being able to realize that you could have done something better, and that comes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier, where placing some of the blame on yourself instead of others is the only thing that can really help you become a better player. If that is your goal, if you want to just
Yeah.
play and have fun, that's a different story. Then don't worry about it. Just have fun.
Sorry,
Why
I'm
is
laughing at
everyone laughing?
I'm laughing at Sean.
I'm silly.
Yeah, he's just a silly goose.
No, I'm getting my graduate degree in viola performance right now, so I have this inherent drive, like I want to fucking get better at something because I've been playing an instrument for 21 years now, so I just like can't stop, won't stop.
Well, shit, you're already like on a level of mastery for something else. I'm sure you could take.
So it's tier 7 mastery.
Yeah, he's already there. He
Yeah.
already hit his T7.
I
He
got
just
my
needs
I got
that
my
paper.
I got my
Just
purple
one
border now.
What instruments?
I started playing violin and then I moved to viola. So I started playing viola when I was 9. So, but I mean, I was one of the little kids that you see with like the really tiny toy violins.
Carrying it around middle school, high school.
You know,
Yeah.
it might help if we somehow were able to fabricate a viola-shaped control.
All right. I
actually-
think
This
this.
is going off the rails.
Oh shit! Oh man. Okay. Well, I just went off the rails, and I hurt my cat. If you did not hear that.
Yeah, I heard your cat. That was not good.
She. Are you okay, cat? All right. Bye. I ran over her tail with the chair. So,
Oh,
dumbass cat.
we do not promote cruelty to animals.
I didn't mean to. She was just down there, and I moved. And you guys were talking about violas and some other bullshit that no one else cares about. That's right. went there.
I played instruments for a long time. So
Fuck
I was
you,
very
Tally.
curious.
You know what, Isaac? Thank you so much for coming on the show this evening. We quite enjoyed the topics you brought to the forefront, and we had. I hope you learned a lot and actually had a lot of fun this evening.
I did both of those things. So thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. If anybody else would like to come on the podcast, patreon.com/TForce Network. You can check us out over there. TrinityForceNetwork.com. We're going to be back to your regularly scheduled Trinity Force podcast, which I don't even know what that means or what that is. It just felt like something I needed to say.
You had it. That worked fine. I don't know why you had to.
Because
ruin it.
then I feel like this isn't the regularly scheduled T-Force podcast. I don't know.
You know, I think there's medications you can take for irregularity.
I don't think you have to worry about me being irregular. I'm right on time, baby. And speaking of being on time, we're ending this podcast on time tonight, guys. Thank you so much for listening to us. We will see you all on Wednesday with more League of Legends discussion. Peace.
Bye.
See ya.